I was at a United Way breakfast earlier, Lenciona was there with me, and it goes back to about 4 years ago. I was in Africa with the military, and I came back, and I was, not too long after that, I was running for county executive. And when I was in Africa, I saw extreme poverty, and I was talking to Mark earlier about it. I've never seen anything of that magnitude. So I come back and I go to my regular monthly Chamber of Commerce meeting, and Lindsay's here from the Chamber of Commerce. And the speakers that month were the United Way. And United Way started rattling off why they're an important organization and what some of the things that they try to impact and change. One of them was childhood hunger, and they said that depending on where you go in the country, on the average, 1 out of 4, 1 out of 5 kids goes to bed hungry at night without the proper nutritional needs that a young growing individual should have. And that struck me because I just come back from North Africa, which had extreme poverty, and I come back to the most powerful country on the planet, and we have 1 out of 4 of our kids are going to bed hungry at night. So I become county executive. We put in our first budget last year, money into the budget through social services, through Darcy and her staff, money for fighting hunger. And not too long after that, this spring, I got called from the Boys and Girls Club through the United Way, and I know it sounds like a United Way commercial, but that's how it started, to read across America, where you get brought in as a celebrity reader, if you will. And I got sent to, I think, to Du Bois Street in Newburgh to read to these young kids. And I go in there, and I was a little early for once, so I sat next to this circle of young kids. I think they were second graders. And I was talking to Mark about it earlier, and the kids first thought I was a police officer, and told them I wasn't, and they had all sorts of these touching stories. Their fathers, one of the kids said, "My father's been in jail. Can you get my father released so he could be home for Christmas?" And so on and so forth. So the next day I came back with my staff, and they're all sitting in a room because they all got punished, and I brought them in there. I said, we got to get this thing rolling, and I put a lot of pressure on Darcy and her staff. How do we make this happen? If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. So what we did is we brought in all of the department heads, or the people that worked in social services that impact adults, kids. How can we make a difference? And we heard from them directly. So what we're about to announce today, what we're announcing is how we're going to make an impact. Now, the 3 people to my right are experts at this. Mark is going to, and Darcy are going to show how we're going to implement this. Lynn Sion represents a business community that gets this awareness out. So what we're talking about today is impacting 22 schools in Orange County today that don't have the backpack program. And that's going to impact 40 kids. And if you do the math on that, that's 880, right? Wayne's my money guy. So that's 880 kids we plan on impacting from this, just alone for this program that we're trying to implement. You look at that, that's 880 families. Whether it's a family of 3, family of 5, whatever it is, that's impacting people of every age, and that's making a difference. I am very excited about this. I'm very proud of this. Mark and I sat for about 15 minutes, and I apologize, we did start a little bit late on this because other ideas. So these are schools that don't have a program today. These are kids that are going home hungry, unfortunately, today as we stand here. And we plan on implementing this immediately. We plan on tracking this from our conversations to make sure it's a success. We are even talking about once this gets established in these schools, these 22 schools, they can be like the other programs that are functioning today that don't necessarily need a government subsidy but are filled in the gaps by the business community, where that's where Lynn comes in. And then we can continue to move our operations to other areas that don't have relief today and make a difference there. And this, to me, I think is just so critical because you're actually doing something. You're not talking about it. And we talked about, Justin from our press office came in and said, how can we do this and follow up on this? And what Mark and I plan on doing is going to one of these schools in a month or 2 from now, see the backpacks firsthand being put together. You're not going to highlight the individual, so to say, because That's not what this is about. Sometimes the best way to get these programs going is to keep this confidential. But we also talked, in Mark's experience, some kids, these are elementary school kids that we're talking about. It's a little bit different than high school, where we can worry about people's status and things like that. But at the end of the day, we're making an impact, and you're going to change a child's life. And I think we all know, and myself, I got a 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 5-year-old. Kids need to have a well-balanced meal. This is the probably most important parts of their lives. It's going to really put the foundation for their whole lives. So when they don't have a proper meal, they're not developing properly. They're not developing physically. Their brains aren't growing. All those things that are impacted. Their mental status, as far as mental health, is impacted all from these things. They're not learning. So many different stresses are put on them when they have a lack of nutrition. And I'm proud that we're going to be filling this gap. I'm very proud of my staff, who I put an immense amount of pressure on. And all these different things that put this into action, from that initial meeting with the United Way, from the meeting at the Chamber of Commerce, from being now in a position where we can make an impact, listening to our staff, the people that are literally not at this podium but are looking at me, that are making this happen. I'm proud to be there. So I'm going to introduce Darcy, and then do you want to introduce Mark, and then have Lynn come up? So Darcy, our Director of Social Services, has been my partner in this, and everybody here, as much as I say we put a lot of pressure on them, they are believers. They are just as excited as I am about making a difference. So Darcy.
Thank you, County Executive. I can't tell you how pleased I am to be your partner on this project. In county government, we often follow the rules and regulations and distribute the funding and do the auditing and make sure the programming is in place and the people that we serve are doing well. To be able to take a program outside of those regulations and look at filling the gaps, that we owe to you to give us that opportunity. It also sent us on a journey together. I have some staff here from the Department of Social Services, Irene Kurland, our Deputy Commissioner, Janine LoCicero, Preventative, and Lisa Higginson, our contract developer. Together, we went on a journey to see what is happening in Orange County and how do we help to meet the mission of the County Executive and fill the gap, and discovered that there are many places and people who have opened their hearts to trying to fill the gap for food insecure children and families through the time that they share, through the money that they donate. And I also learned that many of the roads lead back to the food bank. And through that, we began to talk to Mark Kwan from the food bank and to learn about the programming that they do, and to understand that we need to expand our partnerships in this community, to understand Cornell Corporate Extension and the work that they do, and our school systems. We have Terry Reynolds here from Orange Ulster BOCES, and she will be the link to our schools in order for us to be successful. But we also learned that libraries are out there and doing as much work as they can. With all of that work that's being done, there are 38,000 people in Orange County who are food insecure, and those are the folks that County Executive Newhouse wants us to be able to reach, wants us to be able to connect with them and provide food for them. We could not have done it without the support of so many and without your leadership, so thank you for that. And Mark Quant from the food bank, it was a pleasure to meet you today. We've had many phone conversations and emails, but today you get to talk about this wonderful program that you will be helping us to implement, so thank you for that.
Thank you, Darcy. And first I just want to thank Steve for his insight, for his compassion, and his commitment to this program and to this concept. We were called kind of out of the blue, not really knowing anything about it, but I think I have to say, first of all, I'm not aware of any other initiative like this from any other county executive anywhere in the country. Maybe that's out there, I don't know for sure. I'm pretty sure it's not in New York State, so this is something pretty unique and pretty special. And a significant amount of money that's dedicated to the project. So I want to thank you, and I want to thank Darcy and her staff. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you, because I never would have gotten that proposal together without your guidance and help. So really, I feel we're already part of a real solid team to make some things happen. So I think one of the things that, when we were first approached, we simply talked about some of the different programs that we have put in place. And the backpack program is kind of the centerpiece of the work that we do directly to impact children in our community. And we now have backpack programs in place at over 100 schools throughout 23 counties in the eastern part of New York State. And we've always received feedback. We always try to evaluate and get some feedback on the program to make sure it's having an impact. And we've always received very positive comments back, kind of anecdotal information from parents and from teachers, administrators, that the program is making a real difference in kids' lives. But it was always anecdotal until this past year when we were able to, through a partnership in Schenectady, in the city of Schenectady, to expand our backpack program to every elementary school in the city. And as part of that whole process, they did a more extensive evaluation with the kids and more of a data analysis of the impact that the program was having. And we didn't know what it would tell us, but we found out afterwards, and it really excited us because now we know, in addition to all the good anecdotal information we received, we have some more hard data. And basically, what they found in the program is that it has increased attendance. Kids are going to school on a more regular basis. They're performing better in school, and they have fewer disciplinary problems in school. So the kids are really being impacted by it. And I listened to the superintendent of the school district talk about it, and he didn't talk so much about the physical health that the food helps bring to the kids, and the cognitive development, and just having being nourished, you're able to focus a little bit more. But he talked about the mental health aspects of it, that a kid who lives in a food insecure home is always worried about where that next meal is going to come from. And it's something that wears on them, and it causes anxiety, it causes greater stress. And it's really hard for kids to focus on other things when they have to worry about, what am I going to eat tonight? Am I going to eat this weekend? Am I going to eat anything that's going to, not that they would necessarily nourish, but they know when they're being nourished well, being nourished properly. When that is removed, when that stress, when that anxiety is removed from kids, it frees them up to think about other things, and to be honest with you, it frees them up to be kids, to be normal, to have a normal life. And that's what we should strive, I think, for every single child in our community. We should strive to give them a normal life and an opportunity to grow to their full potential. So we are very, very excited. It's really an honor for us to be asked to participate as a partner in this program. There are wonderful other organizations in the community. The schools do a wonderful job working with our kids. So we're just excited to be part of it, to work with the schools, to work with county government, to work with the children and the families that will receive that assistance. It's an honor for us to be part of it. Again, I thank Steve for his leadership and his dedication and his compassion. We will do the best that we possibly can. I'm sure that you'll be proud of what we're able to accomplish with your help. And Steve already promised me that if there's anything else that he could do to help, he's there. He's already written down some notes, contacts he's going to make for us to get the ball rolling, because we want to get it rolling right away. And I think with the help of Steve and with Darcy and the other people in the county, we'll be able to get rolling. This semester, we want to get it started. So I thank you very much.
One of the beauties of the relationships now, I mean, Mark and I just started talking today about this, and that's why I told you we were a little bit late. And I asked him some of the resources that private companies that he was working with now, and who's not on the list. So who's on the good list, who's on the naughty list. And one of them happens to be a company that I have some good relationships with, and I told him by the end of the day they will be on the good list. But that's the beauty. If we didn't have these conversations today, we wouldn't be able to make those differences, make those changes. And I'm very excited about it. And one thing that Mark alluded to was if there's anything else that the county can do. The last thing I want to do, and you know, Janine and the other members of our staff that help put this together, when we sat and talked to them eye to eye, and I said, is there a gap in Orange County? Is there kids that are going home right now? Your staff, one of your jobs is to try to help them, and you're not given the resources. What can we do to help? We just left a breakfast, Lynn and I, where they have a domestic violence a home for families, and they turned away over 300 people last year. So we don't want to turn away one person, whether it's for hunger or any type of things that the county can help. Because when you turn somebody away, you might be their last resort, and if you're the last resort and you said no, what happens to them? So my job and Lynn's job is to help the business community, engage them into these type of marriages between nonprofit and for-profit and governmental, and make a successful and wonderful community. So Lynn, without your organization as my partner, I'd love for you to come up and say a few words as well, as on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce.
Thanks. First, I want to thank you, County Executive Newhouse, because this is really unprecedented. Usually, the government does nothing but get in the way. So I really want to thank you but it's true, for being so intentioned and finding that there's a gap. Because, a lot of times we see the children who have, as the term was, food insecure, that wears on children. But then the fact that their children have no food wears on a family. And that wears on the block, which wears on a community. So this is a building block to bring in, to strengthen the communities, to strengthen the families, to strengthen the entire county. So I want to thank you for all of your efforts, and for everybody's, Darcy and everybody else's efforts. And I pledge to you on behalf of the Chamber that we will put more businesses on the good list.
Absolutely, thank you. Absolutely. With that, do we have any questions?
Steve, typically when we hear backpack program, we think of the beginning of school and kids, they put notebooks and pens and pencils in. But could you go into detail as to how this is going to work? Are the kids going to get a backpack full of food every day, or what the situation? Could you?
Mark, everybody come on up and snuggle up a little bit, guys.
What we have found, and really the backpack program is a national program. It's part of Feeding America, which is the national network of food banks. But what we've learned over the years is that kids who live in food insecure households usually do okay during the week with meals during the school year, because they have the school lunch and the school breakfast program. So they're getting meals, up to 10 meals a week that way. But on weekends, those meals are gone. And those are times when kids very often struggle. The family just does not have the resources to properly feed them. They may come from a family that's just not well structured and has a myriad of other problems. But very often kids really struggle having meals on weekends. So the intent of the backpack program is to provide a backpack full of food for kids to take home on weekends. And they'll get a mixture of foods. It's really, the way we put together the backpacks, it will serve more than just that child. It will help meet the needs of other children in the family, and possibly the parents also. But it will include some cereal or some breakfast items, include some entrees, some prepared entrees that are easy to prepare for kids. We always try to get a loaf of bread in, some fresh produce, some snacks, a little bit of treat here and there. So we try to make it a nutritious backpack that will get the kids through the weekend when they come back to school on Monday. And this is what, with the anecdotal information we get back, is that kids come back more ready to learn. They're more relaxed, they're more comfortable. Some of the behaviors, it's interesting in Schenectady, when they try to identify the kids who have a need, they look for kids who are hoarding food, who are asking at the lunch counter, do they have any extra food left over? Is there anything that they're going to throw out? Things like that, or they're asking teachers questions about, do they have any snacks? I've heard of teachers talk about having food that they have set aside just when kids ask for it, just to get them something, because they know the kids haven't eaten properly. So the whole intent is to try to get kids through the weekend. When they come back to school on Monday, they're ready to learn, they're ready to function, they're ready to be kids.
And how many school districts in Orange County?
We currently serve a few different schools in the county. We have identified 22 additional schools, not school districts, but individual elementary schools, where we will be able to expand the backpack program in the county with these funds.
Now,
and these are all, I just wanted to finish, these are all school districts that have what's called a free and reduced eligibility rate for the school lunch program above 50%. So these are the highest need schools.
So we're looking at the 3 cities, for instance, I would imagine.
Yes, Newburgh definitely. I think every elementary school in Newburgh is going to be served. In fact, I know that. I know Middletown, and I don't have the list in front of me, but we identified through all the elementary schools in the county, we try to identify where's the greatest need, and those are the schools that we select.
Now, will this $375 be enough to cover the whole school year?
It will, this is a program that will roll out over the course of the next 2 years. So our hope and our intent is this semester, now schools started today, right? In most districts. So it's our plan is to try to get it expanded to 5 schools this semester. It takes time to get this. You'd think that you'd walk up to the principal or the superintendent and say, we have some money, start the program tomorrow. It's not that simple. There's a lot of logistics involved. So we hope to get 5 schools added on this semester, another 9 added on next semester, and by next September to have all 22 fully involved in the program.
And the other thing, like Mark was saying, some of them, we need me or other individuals to be the ambassador to get into those schools. So even though the numbers justify a need, other schools, they're strapped with other types of restrictions and government stuff with funding and all those types of things. We went through a hypothetical in my office, but so on some areas, I'm going to be utilizing my relationship with the school districts, in particular through Bill Hecht from BOCES, to get into some schools that maybe don't have the resources available just to make it work. And another thing, like Mark said, these aren't just throwing this out at the wall. We have identified schools that have a need today, and 22 of them, with about 40 individuals each. That's where we got the 880. So, and these are brand new kids, in particular, that do not have that help or what they need right now through their schools.
And I would just say, setting the foundation for that, the last meeting of the superintendents from last school year, the county executive was there, talking to them, introducing this idea to them, preparing them for what was to come. I think they will be very pleased to see that it has come so quickly and as ready as the school year is beginning. So they're already thinking about it.
And it's my intention to try to, let's say we establish it in school A that doesn't have it today. In a year from now, hopefully we can move on and let them be self-sustaining through some help from nonprofits and business community, whoever, and then we can help continue to fill those needs throughout the community.
And that is the model that we try to use with the backpack program. We get it started, get it seeded, if you will, and then have the community begin to adopt that program.